All right, welcome to episode 4 of the Viz Art Podcast.
Yeah.
2019 Gilroy Garlic Festival. I'm here with Brandon Hubbard of Incredible Design. Brandon, welcome. I'm very excited to have you. This is our first time doing a remote podcast.
This is awesome.
Yes, we are here in your booth in Gilroy. This is my 7th year doing it. This is your
second
year. And yeah, I want people to kind of hear your story, your artwork, and, you know, kind of tell your journey. So why don't you start kind of how you got in the industry and, you know, tell people what you're doing.
Yeah, so it's been about 8 years since I first kind of started selling my artwork. The underlayment is I grew up in San Diego, went to San Diego State. I got an undergrad in furniture design. And then after that, I went back to school and got a master's in architecture, thinking I was going to do that.
Be an architect.
That was 10 years ago. I was working in the field for the last year of architecture school, and the last year after school had ended. And in 2010, there was really no jobs to be found. So I was on the constant search for work. And in the meantime, I asked my newly wife, Nicole, hey, what if I kind of just started drawing and seeing if I could sell my illustrations at local farmers markets? And of course I knew Ocean Beach because I grew up in the Point Loma area, and it was really fun to be able to explore that idea. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I've got some drawings I'd love to maybe showcase at your farmers market. And they said, cool. So,
and that's where we met at the OB,
like within
at the
a
OB.
week or two.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the first or the second week, but it was one of the two, and that was May of 2011. And I just always remember, like, I set up the first time and I had all these framed original prints, and I had planted succulents on the other half of my booth because I didn't even have enough art to fill up a whole booth. And my parents and I had just made all these boxes, and it was just hilarious what the first setup looked like. And I just remember
you had the hanging pallets.
Yeah.
That's still to this day. I've never seen that.
Hanging artwork off of pallets.
Hanging artwork off of pallets.
Brought all the weight of my tent down, and I snapped a tent every few months. And these are the little things you learn when you do this. And learning to bring the weight down was a very smart move and stuff. And so, yeah, so grinding it out that first year, obviously we were kind of developing a friendship, and I was picking your brain about the industry because you'd kind of gotten a head start on me, and you were kind of picking my brain because I'd gotten a head start on life a little bit because I was a little older than you. So I think that's where it kind of developed, where our learning of each other's way that we work and operate, you know, kind of developed into what it is now. And we're just go-getters. We're hardworking people that are talented and know how to apply our talent in a successful business model. And
that's, I mean, yeah, we got along very well because we were hustlers. We both liked to work. We had similar styles where people thought our artwork was, because you do a little bit of everything. I mean, you do photography, you hand draw, you can do some digital. I mean, you came from the architecture side, so you could do renderings. I mean, you are all over the place, but with your intricate details, with your word art, a lot of people have, you know, think we're the same artist at times, and which is kind of cool because we know each other really well and we help support each other. I'm even wearing one of your shirts right now. Got to support that.
When we laugh it off too, we're like, oh no, that's not him. It's not like we take offense, like that is not my work, and because we both know that we're really good at what we do, and it's awesome artwork. And the fact that I've also sold out of your gallery space and stuff also, I think for people up in Carlsbad, I think that. And so, but the crazy thing is the evolution of the process of my artwork. So I mean, it all dominantly started with pen and ink illustrations, and then leading to photography. And so I came up with the idea of calling it Signs of San Diego, because it was dominantly the neighborhood signs that make San Diego unique, and then basically thinking how I can structure that towards a business. But after a couple years, with a little bit of traveling in between, I kind of developed the idea for the map project in 2015, with using the word art to draw every single state in the United States.
Jeez,
and
that's a beast of a project.
That was a 1-year project, and it was really, really good for me to do because it opened up my opportunities to go sell in other places other than San Diego. So obviously I still put up a lot of my San Diego stuff wherever I travel because it's a beautiful city. People like, you know, the views there, or they have a memory there. But my main point was to kind of be able to do these shows, and that's what kind of led us to where we are now, is you know, thinking how can I apply this and travel a few hundred miles away and still have people want to support my art.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy too is you jumped into the industry and you had a good momentum going. You're doing a couple shows, Hillcrest, other farmers
I
markets.
got in the Little Italy, which I still do to this day.
The Little Italy one. So you were building yourself up. Your company was taking off, and then all of a sudden it's like you closed shop and you left. You left the country. You're like, you know what? This is something I got to go do. So what happened there? What'd you do? Why did all of a sudden you stop for like a year?
Yeah, well, my wife and I were in the process of going into the Peace Corps. We knew that we both wanted to travel, and we knew that being married gave us a leg up on where they could put us. And months after months of just waiting and having things not really know where we were going to be placed, we kind of got a little tired of that, and we realized we wanted to go to Southeast Asia. So my wife found a teaching program that hired people that had gotten a college degree to go out and teach for a year or more, and living and working in Thailand. So we applied in this program. They placed us in this amazing school at this very small town that only has like 50,000 people,
Wow.
And it was amazing. It was the most amazing experience of my life. It was the best decision I could have made. The threat of knowing that the business could go under was never really a big concern of mine, because I knew a year is just a year.
Yeah.
And I knew that what I was going to learn when I was there was going to help me kind of rebound when I came back, because I had so much downtime. Keep in mind, like when we were done teaching, the rest of the day was ours. We didn't have any other work to do. We didn't have friends to make plans with and stuff. So I spent a lot of time building my website, putting up the content, like creating things that I knew would benefit me when I came back home, because I knew when I came back home I'd be
Smart.
running it right back into it and trying to get the brand back out there. But the cool thing is I was able to start a whole nother brand of artwork with my illustrations and photography from abroad. So I've got a whole nother website that's dedicated to that. It's called mytravelosophy.com, and it's kind of umbrellaed under it. So when you have the Signs of San Diego, My Travelosophy, I started messing around with doing portrait photography. So I bought up a domain called Shutterhub, and then I had an Etsy site where I started selling my maps. I was kind of like, well, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to have all these websites. Like, what's something that I can call my company that kind of blankets it, and then you trickle down and figure out what kind of specific artwork you're looking for, because of how diverse my stuff is and how I'm always constantly moving and developing my artistic style. So people were coming in and saying, this is incredible, this is incredible. That was just like the word that kept resonating, and I was like, what's it called? Like, incredible design? Like, yeah, but I'll change, like, ink, because I draw with ink, I print with ink. It's like, maybe that'll be cool. So I was able to get that domain, and then Incredible Design was born. And a couple years ago I was actually able to incorporate my business. So the business side of it, is always kind of evolving and working itself into it. We have families now, which is a big twist.
Huge twist.
We were just grinding out 5 shows a week back, in our late 20s and stuff. And then when the 30s hit, and then we start, popping out a kid or two, it was just 2 months after we got back from Thailand when we learned that we were pregnant with Brody, our firstborn. And
what is having kids? What's the hardest obstacle having kids and running your business, for especially people out there who are about to have kids?
Yeah.
I mean, there's one of our buddies, David Light. He's been in the industry for 15
Yeah,
years, and he's having his first kid coming up, so that's going to change his whole business. So, I mean, what's the advice or the biggest change for,
Well, being self-employed was probably like the most wonderful way that I could have experienced being a parent, because of the flexibility of my time. And I always try to put them first, but we also got to pay the bills. So I try to keep the traveling shows at a slight minimum because of the ripe age our kids still are.
Sure.
And I feel like when we get older, so Brody's 5.5, he'll be starting kindergarten in a couple weeks, and then Zaya, our daughter, is 2.5. So
wow,
it's pretty awesome. And the crazy thing is, when we moved back from Thailand, we went back into our apartment. Luckily, my stepdad owned the apartment, so we had no problems getting our place back. And a gallery space popped up. Matt Cirillo was a jeweler that was placed in a gallery on Ray Street in North Park that I got to know from doing the event Ray at Night, which is a monthly kind of art walk that they've got there. Pretty low key, but it's been around for years. And the the cool thing is I kind of stopped in there. I was like, hey, I'm back. Like, we talked about potentially putting my art in here. What's up? He's like, well, you got great timing. You know, Matt, hey, you got great timing. We just expanded the studio. And what if you were to have your own like studio space? Like, that would be cool. Like, and that was just a mile from my house. So we were pregnant with Brody. We were doing the gallery space. And then I was still doing the shows. Everything seemed to be working.
When you came back, you're like, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do this.
It all
What's going on?
kind of happened at once, and it was like, whoa,
right,
like this is really working out. And then once Brody was born, I didn't really want to be anywhere but home.
Okay.
It was a magical experience, and luckily it was like a co-op space where I didn't have to physically be there a lot. But obviously sales suffered because, you know, we sell our stuff better than anybody because we know it left and right. So when that kind of happened and he was a few months old, it was kind of like I didn't necessarily want to do it anymore. I liked the shows that I could just kind of pick and choose where I wanted to go. I could take 2 weeks off if I wanted to. I could work 5 shows in a week if I wanted to. I love the flexibility of that, not being tied down to a space.
Yeah.
So, you know, middle of 2014, kind of pulled out of the gallery space, but I had a bunch of art that was just kind of chilling, and Brewery had just opened up right around the corner, My Kest Brewing in North Park, and they had started in Miramar, and now they just opened up a tasting room in North Park with the brewery combined. So they're brewing beer. I was like, where is this place, you know? And checking them out, they had these big walls that had nothing on it. So I was just like, hey, I've got all this art that's coming off the wall here, 500 feet around the corner. Like, what if I were to put it up here? And they were like, you know what? You make it look good. You take care of the finances. No sweat. That was almost 5 years ago. So a big connection to kind of the brewery world kind of started happening. I started doing projects for Mission Brewery that's established right downtown from Petco Park, and they needed like a merchandise area. So the pallet wood kind of came through. I started pulling pieces of pallet wood, doing repurposed wood projects, and then they ended up liking that so much they expanded their tasting room, and I did the most massive project I'd ever undertaken, which was doing a 100-foot long wall that was 14 feet high with pallet wood, and then the second floor that's just as long but only 10 feet high.
Wow.
So like 600 linear feet of wood put up on the wall over like a month. And so I started taking on these projects that were kind of more time inclusive, you know, so I didn't have to sweat the market as much because I had projects that were kind of financing things.
You did the pallet wood in our gallery. You did that wall. So
that was like the new hotness in like 2015, 16. I was using repurposed wood. I still use that a lot for my framing, and it's always kind of a go-to for me in case somebody has an interest in that. I've kind of got the system down with that, but it's another way for me to kind of rework the degrees again. Get the woodworking degree and the architecture degree. You know, even though I'm not using it in a direct sense, the things I learned doing that was just, it was priceless. So
I think that's awesome. I mean, you like I said earlier before, I mean, you can do a little bit of everything. I mean, from installations to creating your work. And you know, the biggest thing I think with having kids now is we got to use our time more efficient.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like,
there's no joking around.
You have no time to screw around.
Yeah.
Like, when you get a downtime, you need to be working. I mean, like, you know, at night after the kids go down, you try to get in a little
almost
bit.
Religiously in a way. You know, there's downsides to it, but there's beautiful parts. You know, the fact that I can just kind of put everything on pause, and because we get to do what we do, you know, if we feel the motivation to work from 9 to 1 or 2 in the morning, because, you know, it's just kind of tickling us, then we go for it. And that's the kind of the benefit of it. But it's also, you need to have that, I guess, tolerance. You need to be on top of yourself to know that you can dedicate that time when you are down and out and tired. You've been up since 6 in the morning and the kids just went down. You can't just like, just rest it down. You got to kind of grind it out. And so it takes a special kind of person. And that's where we come in with that. Like, I started getting into the apparel part too, so I got my own direct garment printer, and sometimes I'll go out in the garage like at 10, 11 at night and just crank out a bunch of shirts.
So real quick, what's the difference? Because a lot of people probably see this and think it's screen printing. So
Yeah.
a lot of people aren't familiar with that term, direct to garment, which is interesting because you actually bought your own printing machine,
Yeah.
and you can print on T-shirts. And
Yeah,
'cause
so
I do
all my
screen
designs.
printing, and yours is how does your work?
So basically, it's like a printer that you would have at home that you'd feed a piece of paper through that it prints on, but instead of heating paper, it feeds the actual shirt. So it's like a platen that comes out. You put the shirt on, you push it in, and then it prints directly onto it. You take it off. You got to be careful because it's wet ink. I mean, it'll smudge, it'll jack it up. Transfer it over to the heat press it down for about 30 seconds, and then that cures it. So it's like a two-part pass. You got your front part, and then I also have my my label across the back that you gotta do too. So you always want to make sure that branding is on there because people need to know how they can get one of these too. And so when I do specific shows, like right now, I've got some Giant stuff up, I've got my Warrior stuff up, we're up in the Bay Area. I always try to kind of tailor to the audience that I'm selling to, while at the same time having more of my generic California stuff that can really sell anywhere.
And that's what's cool is you can print on demand out on the spot. So next week if you go to Vegas, I mean you're gonna print stuff to Vegas right out of right out of your garage.
Yeah, and so then the multi-state shows and stuff was something that I was interested in once the map project began, and then that's when I started picking your brain.
Yeah,
it was like, hey, where do you go? And the first show we did was 4th Avenue, Tucson.
Oh, yeah, the Tucson. We've been doing that
2016, I think.
Gosh, almost 10 years now. I've been doing that one.
I mean, that's pretty hard to imagine how many times, and you do it both the spring and the winter one, and I kind of pick and choose. But the coolest part is we both have now been poster artists, the signature poster artists for the 4th Avenue show, which if you don't know, the 4th Avenue always chooses an artist to create their poster print that gets plastered around the whole entire city and stuff, and it's just it's a great honor. It's a great honor. You get a little bit of money from it, nothing too crazy, but it's more so just the honor of knowing that they wanted to select it. And we had a good run for San Diego artists. We got picked up like 4 straight times, and including David Lozo before us.
RTK Photography with Bob Kaler. Yeah, so that's very cool. San Diego artists are coming up, man. I mean, I'm seeing more and more people out there. What advice would you give to someone who wants to get into this industry?
I think passion comes before profit. That's kind of what resonates with me. If you can grind it out at the beginning, because there's no way you're gonna be able to just crush it right off the bat. I mean, that's a very rare thing.
Yeah.
It's all about the massaging part of it. So you find out what you like to do. You find out if it's something that is attractive enough for most people, and then you figure out where to best put your stuff. Not overly ambitious, but not also try out a market or two, get into a couple more, but don't be settling for that market. Like when I first started, I was doing OB Wednesday, Thursday was North Park Farmers Market, Saturday was doing the Ron LaChance's Market in Old Town, and then Sunday I was doing the gas lamp one with David too.
Okay.
So those were all markets that I was content with, but I knew that Little Italy was like where I was at on Saturdays, and Hillcrest is where I was at on Sundays. So I could have continuously gone to those shows and just been like, all right, cool, I like this is fun. But I was like, nah, I want to go where the people are at. Yep, so you have to constantly be monitoring what you can be doing to better your business at the same time. But the flexibility aspect is cool because Monday through Friday, I've got a blank canvas basically to do whatever I need to do to get ready for the weekends. And so once I narrowed down, like people are like, well, are you anywhere? Do you still do OB? I'm like, I learned pretty quickly weekday markets weren't really where I was trying to set my goal to. It was the weekends because that's where
stepping stone to do something.
Yeah, like Wednesday night at farmers market, that's great. But sometimes people had a rough day at work, and then they're just like, I just want to go home. I don't want to go to the market. Saturday though, 8 a.m, I want to get my coffee. I want to go out and walk. And like people are in such a good mood, and like it's open for a couple extra hours, which you got to take into account. You can't just set up for 2 or 3 or 4 hour shows when it takes a lot of effort, especially putting up what we put up.
Well, yeah, I mean 10 by 20 booths. I mean these take 3 hours at least to set up and 3 hours to break down. So we can't really do those
you don't have that luxury
shows on this size or scale.
Exactly.
And that's what's nice with Gilroy, where we're at, is this is a 3-day festival. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people come through this event. And
That's nuts.
It's a great place to put your art out there and see what people think about it. I mean, some of the bigger shows where they have the 100,000 people, you're going to get a lot of feedback if your work sells and doesn't sell. But first I think you want to start at the farmers markets, cost effective, smaller, and then you could scale your way up to doing the bigger and bigger shows, because the bigger the show, obviously the more it costs to get in, travel expenses, hotels, all of that.
There's a lot of things to weigh out.
Absolutely.
For sure. But it all comes with practice, feeling out how you want to do it. Another thing that we are very, very lucky is that we're doing it in San Diego. I mean, it's really one of the top 0.1% places in the world that you can sell 12 months out of the year. Like, you can't do that in Ohio. I'm sorry. It's, and when it's cold like this, like, they might have something indoors and stuff, but the fact that you can be out in the streets selling every single weekend, and most of the time it's going to be 75 and sunny, like, that's something that
we have a luxury.
We have a luxury to have. That is just remarkable. But at the same time, we earned the right to do that, because you got to make more money to live in a city like that too. So it's like it all kind of comes on top of itself. And I think that's where we've always just meshed over the years and picked about each other's brains, because we've given each other good advice as to how to balance the life with the work, and how to continuously keep that drive alive, where we don't get burnt out and we don't feel like what we're doing is not where we're meant to go, because we're kind of now into this. There's really there's no going back for me.
I didn't have a college degree, and I mean, this is what I do. I can't fail on this anymore. I mean, I got the family support like you, and now we got to hit it hard, and we keep at it. I think, one thing is, if somebody who wants to get into this industry, is they need to go out and talk to other artists. They want to talk to other people. They need to find their brand. They need to find other people that they can bounce ideas off of and grow with. I mean, there's a handful of artists in San Diego that, I've always been open and sharing information and, trying to help other people as much as I can. I think if you're open to that when you're starting off and just talking, introducing yourself, and then you can bounce ideas, seeing what other shows people are doing, what's working for them, what's not working for them. So when people start off, I mean, don't be shy to talk to other people and see if they're willing to give you some information, because it helps out in the long time. Because even like when we do shows, if I tell you like, oh, Brandon, this show does really well, you should try this out, because I know what your work is now, I know what can sell, and we all do that. And to a lot of the other people that we know, we're always out there trying to help each other out. And so I think that's really helped me in the industry, is aligning myself up with other people and artists that I trust, and being able to share information and talk.
That's the whole point of this podcast to begin with, is to kind of shed some light with the people that have kind of had an impact on your business and the people that you want to showcase, because we're all in this kind of boat together.
We're all in it together.
There's really because we sell such similar stuff, meaning apparel and art prints, I don't ever see us as competition.
No,
because if we're both succeeding, how could we be competing? You know what I mean? If one of us was just down and out and seeing the glorification from somebody else, that can happen too. This particular show we're both doing very well at this year.
This is a great show.
Other times I've had a little stumble and didn't really do so well. While you crushed it, you've also had some slower times where I just couldn't keep people out of my booth. And it's all a law of averages. And some we don't even talk about the financial part of it. Like, I do all my own numbers too, and I'm a math dork, dude. I'm all like, look at the calculations of just how I create my maps and stuff like that. I'm very calculated, and I don't just jump into things. I outweigh it. I figure out, well, if I'm gonna do this show, I gotta probably take another show off my plate, because obviously I'm home a lot. And running a successful business isn't just kind of showing up and selling your stuff and going home. It's figuring out, okay, now I've got this money. Do I want to apply that in towards purchasing more equipment to build more stuff, or do I started making stickers now. Like, I never had stickers and never really thought about it, but people kept asking,
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I hear the same question 20 times over and I'm not doing something about it, it's kind of, that's on me, you know? So the funny story about the stickers is I placed my first order, and each sticker you got to order at least a couple hundred to make the per sticker price worth it. You know, you can't order stickers that cost $2 each and you sell them for $3. You got to make more than that. And so I shell out like $900 my first sticker order. All these people have been asking. I set them all out. I'm like, sweet, finally have some stickers. People walk in like, oh sweet, you got some stickers now. I'm like, yeah, that's right, man. And then they go, got any magnets? I'm like, come on, dude! Like, I just got stickers. That's how this place is. It's like
always want what you don't
always
have.
want you, and then that's where your branding is ridiculous, because you've got amazing. Like, every single one of your images is applicable to a coaster, to a sticker, to a shirt, to a print, and like, that's another thing you got to think about. What kind of work can I create that I can recycle over and over again into fashionable items that people will want to buy, so you're not stuck remaking stuff over and over again. And that's where I find your branding and everything is so specific, and like, you do such a good job in your booth, like creating like a space that it's really like a store, like a retail store, and that you've got your retail store, so you've gotten the practice, but it's I call this the mobile gallery, because we literally throw everything in a truck or a van. We show up, we put it all back out, and we have a lot of pride with how things are laid out, because you want people to be impressed when they walk in. You don't want to have things just like hanging off. How do you want me? And I had that for the first couple of years when I learned it. But once you figure out, like, okay, these panels are how I want to do it, and then you invest in those, and you just realize, like, things can also go awry. Like Mammoth, for you, your tent got chucked. 20 minutes later, you would have been in the car driving and
been gone. That was a 10 by 20 canopy. I've never seen a 10 by 20. Those are heavy.
Those are heavy, and they're not cheap to replace.
They're not cheap. But yeah, going back to the product, I mean, having the storefront, having the gallery has really helped me figure out what I want to test out, because I can test out candles. I mean, there's a lot of products that
candles are awesome
that haven't
they
worked.
Smell so good.
Yeah, we hand pour those in San Diego. You know, SoCal Candle Company. I mean, I love doing collaborations with other companies.
Yeah, surfboards
and so yeah, trying to find the products. And I think a lot of artists, they need to figure out if they want to be a fine art where they want to just create like originals and limited edition prints, or if they want to go kind of and put it on all the different products.
We go where we're kind of always expanding into different things.
My goal is to put my art on everything eventually, like, because I can only create 8 to 10 pieces a year. I can't sit there and recreate all these pieces. So for me, it's like, okay, well, let's put it on a different product to keep my customers interested. And so I'm always looking at like, oh, that would be a cool thing to test out. And I'm lucky with my artwork is it can translate to a lot of different products
for sure. And that's a smart way to do it.
And that's what I mean. Your booth, I'm looking right now. I mean, you have it printed on aluminum. You have cork boards, you have wood, t-shirts. I mean, so you're the same thing.
Vinyl, you do canvas.
Yeah, you got it on
there's
different...
definitely, because people have different preferences, and being able to do the customizational aspect is what kind of sets it apart. Like these cork maps are kind of like the newly developed thing that I started working on about a year and a half ago, where people could have a pinnable surface where they can mark traveling. And I know traveling is big for me, obviously living in Thailand. Traveling is big through the US because we do traveling shows. So the more I kind of push that promotion where I'm that kind of person and people feel that rapport with me, and they're simultaneously finding the product they've been searching for. Like, the best compliment I can get is when somebody comes in and is like, oh my God, I've been looking for something like this for 5 years now. And I finally punched through that void that they had been wanting to kind of fill. And now on their wall is one of my pieces. I'm like, damn, that's so cool, because I could, that's what keeps the drive alive too. Like, people don't just go into your office if you got a computer job and tell you you're doing such a good job today, keep it up. Like, we get complimented left and right with our art. Some haters come in here and there, and we don't have really time for that. We go, thank you for your time, and we respectfully decline. But 98% of the people that come in our booth are always wowed, and it also keeps that motivation alive, knowing that people appreciate our hard work. And that's kind of hard to find. It's almost impossible to find in the real world jobs, because people just expect you to do your job well, and they don't really tell you anything unless you just crushed a report or something like that, where you get a thank you, and then, like, you feel good.
Well, I mean, in this industry for us, I mean, I think the biggest compliment that anyone could give an artist is buying their artwork. I mean, and so, you know, that, like you said,
and telling other people about it.
Yeah, and spreading the love. And you know, the first time I've been doing shirts for probably about 7 years now, and I was shocked when I first saw my T-shirt on, like, when I was walking around like at a mall or something.
I feel the same way, man.
Someone who was wearing my shirt, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's my design.
You get all
like
goosebumps.
it was
cool,
such a cool feeling. And so now when I get to see more of those shirts out there, like, that is, like, for me, I love that. I love seeing that. It shows, like, hey, these guys are wearing it. I don't know who this person is, but they're repping my work. They're wearing it proudly, like that.
Yeah, they either got it as a gift, or they might have gotten it at the gallery and you weren't there. And I love it when, like, families, like the most recent picture on my Instagram feed is this beautiful little kid with his parents, and they all three got a shirt, and they're like the happiest looking family in the world, finding my apparel. And I'm like, dude, that's cool, man.
Great. That's why we do this. That's why we do this. They making people happy, making us happy. I mean, and that's what, at the point where we are, it's such a good feeling to be able to know that this is what we get to do for a living. And anyone, I think, could do that if they, like you said earlier, you got to find what you love. You got to find what keeps you going. I mean, you could literally, if you love making baskets or weaving, figure out how to turn that if you want to get out there. But there's also people who just like doing it and they don't want to sell it, and that's okay too. Just because everyone,
or they're not capable of, because they just aren't. We have that perfect little development, and that's what was so cool about when I first started doing this. The sales part was no problem. I was in the restaurant and sales industry, retail industry, from 16 until I was 30. When I was really starting this up. And it's crazy because I was always selling somebody else's stuff, but I wanted to learn as much as I could about that product so I could sell as much of it as I could, because some places worked on commission. Otherwise, I just straight up like being a player. I like being the guy that sold more than the other people. Yeah. Because I'm like, that's what I do. I learn it, I sell it. But when it started being my stuff, I'm not just selling product. I'm selling passion behind the product, and it reflects upon that when people come into the booth, because they can tell that we are that kind of person. And, you know, you got other people set up, and they like just chilling in the back of their booth and like reading or doing something, and people come in and they say a casual hi. I don't bring a chair. I'm always, and like you said, going back to what you said about being a parent too. When I go back home, I'm going back home to hang out with my family.
To be a dad.
I gotta be as efficient as humanly possible. When I don't have anybody in here, I'm sleeving stuff, I'm reorganizing stuff, I'm straightening things up, I'm making sure it looks legit. It's not a break for me to just kind of chill and be like, okay, it's a slow day. No, I'm gonna take advantage of this time because I have to, because I'm gonna be busy as hell when I get back home, when I'm unloading all this stuff, and I won't have the time to do the things that
that's smart.
Feel like
you
doing.
Have downtime. Use the time when you're here, instead of reading the newspaper or sitting in a corner and being
on
by
your
yourself,
phone.
On your
That's
phone.
such a turn off.
Use the time to the package stuff, to reorganize, to look at different products, talk to other vendors. I mean, use the time while you're there. Instead, I mean, we are literally in the middle of the field. People are starting to show up. We're here early at the Gilroy Garlic Festival, so you're going to hear a lot of crazy noises. This is our day. This is day 3 for us. So this is our last day. We've had a great couple days, so we're excited to get back in here. But you're definitely going to hear some weird noises coming by.
Yeah, these trucks delivering ice and bringing
everything.
And if you haven't been to this festival before, and you're like, when I first was kind of patrolling your Instagram and seeing how things were going at the Garlic Festival a few years back, and it was just like hot, and it sounded like it wasn't the most appealing show because of just the conditions.
Oh yeah.
But you can't argue with all the amount of people that come out to the show. And like if you play your cards right, and you bring a fan, and you get your situation covered where you're nice and cool in the booth, that's great. But if you're not prepared for that, it could be difficult. But this has been amazing, dude. Like last year, the people ask, oh yeah, so how'd you do last year? I'm like, well, I'm back. Yeah. I'm back here again because, you know, sometimes I'll have this extremely successful show, and the second time I do it, I call it the sophomore slump, where it maybe not has been as good, but still, everything is the law of averages. The first thing you got to do is, did you enjoy yourself? Did you have fun? Yes. Did you make some money? Yes, you know, or even no. But this is the most important. Enjoying it is the most important part, because so many people don't enjoy their jobs. and yet we just love what we do, and that resonates, and then it equals the success for the show. You know, it all kind of staggers itself. I don't feel like it's an absolute thing where you love what you do and you're automatically great, or that you sell everything that you make and you're successful but you're happy. You know, you're not necessarily happy either. So if you can combine those two things, that's the only advice I can truly give, is enjoy what you do first and try to make it profitable, but passion before profit.
Yeah, you gotta enjoy what you do, and people will see that too. I mean, people, when they come into our booth, they know we're excited, they know we love what we do, and it comes off, you know, with you know, our sales and everything else. I mean, it shows what you put into. This show, going back to this festival that we're at right here, I mean, going back to, this show, I always give shows at least 2 years.
Yeah.
So I always, or twice. I mean, I always, because it just...
You gotta average it out.
You gotta
need
average out. You need something else to base off, exactly. And so Gilroy, there was a year, I learned quick, there was a year where every single day it was over 100 degrees, and in our booth, it was actually hotter. People would come into the booth thinking they're getting away from the heat, but that temperature in here, they just wouldn't even stop and look at the art because they couldn't even take a time. So now, we have to come prepared.
Yeah, I got my fan blowing on us right now.
You gotta be prepared for different shows, or else, you know, in the smallest, now you'll have the fan. People will stand in front of that fan for 10 minutes looking at your art, and you'll end up selling them something. I mean, and it's just trying things out. But we love coming here, and that's why we keep coming back. Anything else you want to share, Brandon, before we head out? I know we got to finish setting up, but
I guess, like, just kind of where I'm at in 2019, it's I'm trying a new thing, you know. I'm always evolving it from the illustrations to the photography to the maps to the newly kind of discovered roster art that I'm coining it, where I'm creating championship caliber art pieces for teams that have won it. I'm starting to get more into kind of the doodling aspect again. Okay. So the Throna Games piece that I just finished a few months ago,
very cool.
It's just a brainchild of mine that I had, that it was a play upon words of, what if you made a throne that was made of board games? So it's a play upon words of the successful show. And so I hand sketched the whole thing. We'll have some shots of that, and it was kind of a really fun way for me to branch out back to the pen and ink again, because of all the different ways that I've been doing it. The reproduction aspect kind of takes over. Creation is kind of where I want to be back. Like this year, creating a few new pieces that I can start to showcase. So the new stuff I'll be working on, I'm doing this new piece called Gamer's Paradise. I don't think I even told you about this one.
No, no.
Basically, if you picture just a bunch of televisions that are stacked in a completely a way that it would never exist in real life. Just old TVs, new TVs, all structured in this big pile. And branching off those televisions are gaming consoles from the beginning of like the late 70s to current video game consoles.
Okay.
And from that, you've got controllers that are coming out for you to basically choose from. Like, what do you want to play? And then on the screens, there'll be like the most successful game from that particular gaming system, and having it be some really cool big art piece. That gaming is huge, and everything, like
Comic-Cons, all those
so board games I'm all in love with. I love playing pool and stuff like that, so the Throna Games piece made sense for me. I'm not much a huge video game fan, but I was growing up and stuff, so it's kind of more of a retro piece. But I'm always going to be constantly thinking of what do I love and how do I want to apply it in an art way, so it gives me an excuse to talk about it. So the sports stuff is cool because I love baseball, basketball, football. I love talking about it, and if I can create something that provokes that kind of dialogue and then potentially sell something, then great. So that's kind of where I'll be in the next maybe year or two, just kind of developing a few new more pen and ink sketches that I add color to, that are kind of done more in the pop culture kind of trend that I feel is just a smart move, just to keep things going.
We'll have to keep an eye out on that. What's a website that people could take a look at, or Instagram to follow you?
Yeah, so mainly it's Incredible Design. That's I-N-K, ink, no C. I didn't realize that it was going to be such a difficult thing for people to spell right.
Viz Art Ink too. Yeah, I get it.
You would think it'd be easy, but Incredible Design, no C, but a K instead, like ink.com. And then Instagram's under the same name. I'm on Facebook too, but it's just still like the old school Sign to San Diego one on that one. But it's mainly the Instagram. You'll see all the new hotness, kind of anything that I'm currently working on that's brand new and and ready to showcase. And then the website, readily shippable, easily produced pieces that I can get out to people from wherever they order. So.
Well, make sure you go check out Brandon's artwork online. Check him out if you're at a festival in San Diego. He's always at Little Italy Market.
Yeah, every Saturday.
Check us out. Brandon, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yes.
It's game time for us.
Yeah,
we gotta finish setting up here at Gilroy.
Let's do this.
Thanks for the podcast. That was the
Fourth Ave will be the next time we're all hanging out together in December.
Yeah,
so
we'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you around. But thank you so much. That's a business, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bam. Yeah, make it happen.